The weapons of King's Fall, I'm sure you've noticed, have some interesting names. Defiance of Yasmin, Doom of Chelchis. I, like most, never really thought much of these characters and didn't really think there was a story behind them, but it turns out I'm wrong. Today we're going to dive into the backstory behind the characters Oryx named weapons after, like Chelchis, one of the most powerful Eliksni cows who battled Oryx as his species would flee their homeworld during the whirlwind. Let's first begin with some lesser known stories and build our way up to the epic standoff between Oryx and the Kell of Stone. All of these weapons have a similar connection, victims of Oryx that belong to various species. We're going to talk about the weapons from both Destiny 1 and the ones that made it to Destiny 2 in this video, and Eris explains in the Sunless Cell Strike how these weapons are made. The bodies are infused.
Eris, why does Oryx have a prison?
Prison is the wrong term. He holds his victims, tortures them, then renders them down into chitin for his ships.
Yasmin Eld was a paladin serving the Queen of the Awoken, Mara Sov. Yasmin was an essential part of Awoken leadership. In the House of Wolves, she can be seen in the King's Baron's cards discussing the uprising of Skolas with the Queen and also her brother Aldrin. The Awoken Paladins are basically the commanders of their military. They serve under the Queen, of course, and there's only 7 Paladins at one time. So what happened to Yasmin? Well, this specific Paladin was on board Marasov's ketch at the Battle of Saturn, where most of her fleet was destroyed. Some other weapons are more of a mystery. Yes, we have some flavor text, but it doesn't really go in depth and explain who the character was or what species they were a part of. But here's what we have for the other weapons. For Quillam's Terminus, the base weapon, it says, if only we had heeded the Queen. And in the harrowed version of this weapon, her guidance would have saved us. So basically, if they paid attention to the Queen, her guidance would have saved them. This definitely seems to have ties to the Reef. I'm not sure it's Awoken unless they're outcast that decided to not listen to Mara for some reason. But the definition of terminus is also a final point in space or time, an end or extremity. Midha's Reckoning. I see that everything dies, even memory. Midha, consort of stars. In the harrowed version of the weapon, I will not be forgotten. So that's kinda cool, the consort of the stars. The definition of consort, a wife, husband, or companion, in particular the spouse of a reigning monarch. Zali's Bane. This one is also a big mystery, but someone is sacrificing themselves to save a child. From the base weapon, go child, run, don't look back, don't. And from the harrowed version, as the teeth rend and tear, my consolation is that the child lives. So this character was getting torn up by something, their flesh getting torn apart from their body, and they say although they've lost, their consolation prize is that the child lives, they were able to escape. Just from briefly looking at that, maybe the Hive were the ones tearing out this flesh, or something completely different. There's many different species in Destiny we even have yet to see. The base version of Smite of Moraine says, no tomb but the battlefield, no legacy but the stars we etch upon our foes. He parted them like a sea, which closed upon him again. This one, I have no idea. It's talking about war, and someone that parted them like the sea. Was that referencing Oryx himself? It could be. Ilulum's Frenzy. This one is probably the strangest. It just has one line of flavor text that says, hungry, hungry, so hungry. We know the Hive are always hungering for more to feed their worms, so was this someone that rebelled against Oryx and he took him out? Let me know your thoughts. Anguish of Dryston. Hard to starboard, standby weapons. Helm, get us out of here. Captain Dryston Corps, First Fleet. Engines dead. Do we still have Earth signal? Tell them we were wrong. The first fleet seems to be led by Captain Dryston here, and this concept image specifically was called the Cassini fleet, which is believed to be the same thing as the first fleet, which is a giant field of damaged ships floating near Saturn. This would be a cool area to explore with all the Golden Age technology just floating out there. And then we come to Silence of Aarn. Without victory, we cannot go home. Primus Aarn. So this one seems pretty straightforward. This is a Cabal leader and perhaps one of the ones that boarded and breached the Dreadnought with their own ship. And to wrap this up, this brings us to Doom of Chelchis. In a Beyond Light card from the Warrior, Phylax speaks of the great Eliksni Kell of Stone, Chelchis, and compares them to Aramis, who in their opinion is the supreme leader of the Eliksni. I fought many battles and found no warrior above the knife will of Aramis Kell. Together, we sieged the walls of the Earth City with weapons in every claw. Side by side, we spilled life force across the system. No catch was out of her reach. No death could seize her. Even enchained by the wretched Reefborn, she grew only stronger in mind and body. Chelchis, Skolas, Axis resurrected them all and watched her reduce them to dregs. Her new claimed power is beyond any they wielded, beyond any our people ever knew. In And Also Light from Season of Splicer, Namrask speaks to Mithrax about the whirlwind. I distrust splicers, Namrask grunts and rubs his chest. What would a splicer do to him? Fill him with machine cancer to make him strong again? Give him the corrupted ether, the undying madness? Mithrax's primary eyes shine. I am an older kind of splicer, those who look for the light in all things. Maybe the right kind of splicer can weave two peoples together, as the Awoken tried to, in the reef. But the light is not in all things. It has left us. Why look for the light when you can clearly see who it favors? It was once in us, Mithrax reminds him. It could be again. Namrask remembers such a time, across a vast and blood-soaked distance. Riis. I was there, you know, Namrask whispers. At the whirlwind, after Chelchis fell, I sent ships to follow the great machine. I abandoned all of those houses that could not make war. I ordered my fleet to hunt the machine. Many rallied after us. Each ship began its own war with the humans, but maybe I was first. From other flavor text, we get these lines. Eliksni songs still tell of Chelchis Kell of Stone, who stood before the maw. Where is the great machine? Where is the great machine? All is silent. Nothing answers me. The hunger comes. So Chelchis fought this final battle on Riis against a dark foe. The Traveler and other Eliksni would flee, but he would stay behind to clear the way for the survivors. It's said that this Kell stood before the maw, and the definition of maw is the jaws or throat of a voracious animal. The theory here is that Oryx led an invasion on Riis, which Chelchis stayed behind to take part in. Most of the King's Fall weapons are tied to characters who've battled Oryx, and most of them have failed. But what's interesting is this isn't 100% confirmed. Maybe Chelchis actually came into contact with the Witness or the Darkness during their version of this collapse. Chelchis stood before that maw, a vicious creature. Oryx, of course, had connections to the Darkness, taking the power from it, but Bungie could totally spin this either way in any future lore card. Anyway, Guardians, that's all we got for today's video. Some lore and backstory behind the epic weapons from King's Fall, and I hope you enjoyed this if you haven't heard any of these stories before. I just looked into it recently, and it's actually nice to learn more lore from the King's Fall raid. How vicious Oryx was, taking over many worlds, and hey, who knows, maybe we'll see Bungie add on to this in the future. If you'd like to see some more Destiny lore and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.